heard it as a controversial take. Some people are like, church is not a business, it's a ministry.
I'm a videographer. Don't ask me what I'm doing tomorrow because I won't know either, you know?
The biggest thing we always tell our team, Google accounts for 60% of all searches daily. Dude, relationships are so important, even like this, and serving other people.
All right, welcome back to the Right Over podcast. We are we're doing a little bit of a different episode today. We're here at Noble Coffee and Tea in Noblesville, Indiana. We were actually here in episode 4 with Carly. So if you haven't checked that episode out, go give it a little watch. But anyway, we're here and we're actually going to be filming in the coffee shop today. Our guest is from Birmingham, Alabama, and so we're going to do a little bit of a virtual kind of episode today, which is something different, but I'm excited to try something new. So, yeah, here we go. All right, welcome back to the Right Over podcast. I'm excited. Today we have a friend of mine, Adam West, out of Birmingham, Alabama. Unfortunately, couldn't be there in person. I think if I would have left at like 9 p.m. last night, I would have been able to make it right on time for the episode.
Dude, we'll make it work. You don't want to be down here right now anyways. I don't know what it's like for you, but dude, it is scorching.
It's hot.
It is so hot. Like, I feel I'm kind of annoyed that I don't have like curtains on my stuff because I'm like that you can see that sun is beaming through. It's probably already 98 degrees here this morning.
It's been,
and at the time of recording this, it's like 8:30 in the morning.
It's been so hot. Yesterday, I was like, you know what? I got to go mow our lawn. I'm out there mowing, and it's like 105 degrees. I'm like, oh, my word, this is terrible. But, no, anyway, I'm excited to just chat with you and just kind of let's just kind of jump into it. Give the listeners kind of a little bit about your background, kind of like where you started and like kind of like what you do now.
Yeah, so like you said, I live in Birmingham, Alabama. I've got my wife, Emily, and our 2 daughters. We have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. And I am a creative media and marketing director full-time for a church here in Birmingham, Alabama called Christian Life Church. But also on the side, I have a kind of a small media company. It's a one-man crew. It's just me. I get to do larger projects where I have to hire some of my buddies and different things, but called Adam West Media. And we do everything from photography, videography, commercial projects, a lot of those. But I was telling you when you and I were kind of chatting the other day, my background is videography and photography. Those are my main skill sets, but also I have a heavy background in like digital marketing. That's things like Google Business, PPC ads, which are your pay-per-click ads, your LSA ads, any type of SEO, SEM. That's a big part of it. That came from a career that I had with SERVPRO. SERVPRO is a water and their mitigation. They do water mitigation, fire restoration. And that's really where my big creative came from. They hired me as a full-time, like that they called a marketing support coordinator. So I worked for the marketing director to support him. And man, it just progressed. We started doing video, and I had already kind of helped a little bit. I'd had a background in video. I was an AV nerd in high school, and did a lot of those things. I was actually going to do like mass communications, and God kind of changed a little bit of my path, and ended up going into recreation management. Worked for the YMCA for 10 to 12 years, and dude was able to kind of transition out of that into a more corporate atmosphere and do a lot of things. And so it was cool to kind of see how all that progressed and how it worked. But literally, man, it just kind of blew up when Vine and Instagram started adding video, and my wife and I were leading student ministry at our church, and we had to figure out how to connect with students. So we started doing it, and bro, it just progressed. I hear it all the time, pick up a camera, and that's what I did. And I loved it and kept doing it more and more and more. And because of that and what we did with the church, that led to the job at SERVPRO. And man, I got to grow with one of the largest teams in the nation. They're one of the top 10 teams in all, and there's like 3,000 franchises. And so it was just kind of cool to be a part of that, and grew and got the opportunity to work full time for a church, which is what I really wanted to do, and to do ministry. I love doing creative ministry, but through that, I was able to put a contract together for SERVPRO. So when I left, I didn't really leave. They hired me to kind of continue doing what I'm doing, and I still go in once a week. I go in the mornings. I record a podcast with our owners. I go once a month. I go and spend an entire day going out, getting content, doing things. So, dude, it's a
Dude,
hodgepodge,
that's
man.
awesome.
Like it's a hodgepodge of things that
That's
I
so
do.
cool. I remember I was talking to you about how like I went from like filming like in an arena to then like that same week filming like a senior session. It's just like
Yeah.
you never know. I think I saw this like reel on Instagram where it was like, I'm a videographer. Don't ask me what I'm doing tomorrow because I won't know either.
Well, no, either. It's tough, man, because people tell you should niche down, but and I think it works for some people great, especially if you're like an influencer or you're doing something. But man, like I've never felt like I've had the ability to like niche down. I mean, yeah, obviously I do church creative, like church media, but I also love doing commercial photography and commercial media and things like that. I do a lot of that for SERVPRO. So it's like I always hear people say you need to niche down. I'm like I don't know if I
Yeah,
can.
and I love like I don't know. It's just it's something different. It keeps you like creatively like different, and it just
Hmm.
it's I'm so like one thing about me is like before I even came into the creative space was like I was in school for nursing, which is completely different.
Oh wow.
But like kind of the thing that like held me back from like continuing to do that and moving into this line of work is just that like the monotony of it. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do for the next rest of my life. And so now like with this, it's like projects are not the same, and I have like my retainer clients and like that is a little bit like similar, but most of the time it's different work, and I really I enjoy that. And I think maybe it's part of like my ADHD. It's just like I love like just doing like different things, which is just so great. So yeah, that's so cool. And so one thing that like stuck out to me when we were chatting before this was how media and marketing has impacted your church.
Yeah. So so actually the way that I came to be at the church that we're at now, I had a friend of mine that worked with me at SERVPRO, and they attended this church, and the church didn't have anybody. It was actually right after Easter. They had their photographer that was scheduled through planning center and everything just didn't show up. So they had Easter Sunday. They had nothing, no photos, no nothing. And she was like, "Hey, would you ever be willing to like come?" And at the time, we were at a different church where I was serving on the media team. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And she's like, "I'm sure they'll pay you or whatever." I was like, "No." I was like, "Hey, let me just come. This will be kind of fun for my family and I. We'll come somewhere different, do something different on Sunday, and we'll have a lot of fun and enjoy it." And that kind of turned into a relationship. And so when I did that, they had called me a couple times. I'd come back to one or two times, and what was really cool is I'd come to just serve capturing photos. That's it. Maybe 2-3 times over the course of like 7 or 8 months. Like I would just come if when we're on a break on a Sunday and just help them. That turned into a paying gig the following Easter. They needed a video and reached out to me, and I got to work with our worship pastor, who's my boss at the time. And through that, we created a really cool video for them to show on Easter. They were doing kind of a play on the prodigal son. And so it was a really cool video we got to film, and we got to edit it into 3 parts that our Pastor Jeremy, used in his message. And from that, the day that we filmed that video, we filmed at their house because it was like a filming a family. He and his wife, everybody had left, and I was cleaning up. And he kind of like pinned me in the kitchen. I was cleaning up, and so Pastor Jeremy and Pastor Meg, they're married. And they were like, "So we hear you're thinking about wanting to move into creative and leave SERVPRO." And I'm like the only one in the house. And so I joked that they kind of like pinned me in, and they talked to me about it. And that started from there, a 6 to 7 month process where my wife and I were trying to figure out if we wanted to transition, because SERVPRO was a great job. I got to do the things I wanted. But we had moved out of the creative side. And so got to move into it, dude. And it brought a whole new array of things. They didn't really have a lot of consistent social media. The website was super old. It was not user friendly. There were a lot of things that we had to change and progress, and so we kind of instituted a lot of that stuff and started making changes and advertising. And I mean, we tried to bring the whole. I tried to bring the whole commercial world of what I did at SERVPRO to the
Yeah,
church.
yeah. I think nowadays being present on social media is more important than it's ever been because
Mm-hmm.
in a previous episode, I think it was episode 4, we talked about how Instagram has almost become its own search engine. Like if people are looking you up, they'll go to
Yeah,
Instagram and they want to see like who you are and what you do. Like they might go to Google to maybe look up your address, but most of the time they're going to Instagram first. So you got to be present there for people to find you.
yeah,
And I think, how more important is it as a church to be present on social media and to like, for people to find you, um, is just it's so good. And one thing that stuck out to me that you said was how you had to take a step back and view church as a business.
yeah. It's kind of funny when you say it. I know it's, at least for me, I've kind of heard it as a controversial take. Some people are like, "Church is not a business; it's a ministry," and we're like, "You're right, it is." But your systems and processes need to have some type of business mentality to them, right? Like, I shared with you a little bit that we're in a process of moving from what we call a mom and pop church to a corporate church. The same thing in business. Like you have your mom and pop, there's only one location. We want to see the church have multiple venues and different campuses. Eventually, we're trying to grow to that. So we've got to change our system and processes. And so a couple of things we changed is how people submit projects. It's not just a walk in my office, walk up to my desk and be like, "Hey, Adam, I got an idea. I need this tomorrow. Go." I'm like, it's like, man, it doesn't work that way. We got to sit, we got to storyboard, we got to think through it. Like, what's the purpose of the video? What's the purpose of the photos? We got to do those. So we had to move from that. So we had to move on how those things were done because so many people in the church need that. And I think sometimes in the creative realm, much like in a business, people don't realize the creative department touches every ministry, right? Like, think about students. Students really kind of handle students. I mean, like, yeah, they work with the kids ministry because kids kind of move up from kids to students. Kids ministry kind of works with students, but they may not do the main church. Main church works with a little bit. So as a creative department, we work with all of them. And so we had to find a way to say, all right, we've got all this influx of projects. How do we handle this bandwidth and still supply what everybody needs? And then on the flip side of that, where we had to really look at church as a business, is we had to think about, like, if you're trying to sell a product and you're trying to bring somebody in, what are you doing to bring that person in to say, "Hey, you need this product. You want to buy this." And I'm not trying to say that church is something people buy, but it is an experience. And we live in a culture now where people are so busy. We've got to show them that church needs to be a part of that busy schedule and it needs to be a part of what they do. So we knew we had to change the website. The website was not user friendly. It wasn't great. I mean, we went with a company, shout out. We did a company called the Church Co. They were awesome. They were great because what we were trying to do is make it scalable. And so we wanted a website, like if anything ever happened to me, like at all, like I was sick, something happened, I got hit by a car, whatever, we want to make sure that I wasn't the only one that could use the website. And at the website we had prior, like nobody could do it because they had no background in website design. So this new one was much better. And then even what was great was that is we instituted marketing into our church plan. Like we created a budget. We've got a certain amount we budget every year, and we do Google advertising. We use a company called Co-op, and it's a good buddy of mine. His name is Chandler Boyce. He's based out of Texas. They do this a lot with companies. It was great. I get to have a dashboard. I get to see. But we were able to see none of the other churches around us were marketing. They weren't doing anything. And so you need to be in front of someone when they're looking for a church. And we wanted to make sure when somebody searches church near me or something like that, we wanted Christian Life Church to pull up. And the way that we need to do that is by doing advertising through Google, because Google accounts for 60% of all searches daily. I mean, it's a big part.
I think it's so important to be in front of people's eyes and to be, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
putting you like at the top is like it's good to like draw in like more so than like just numbers, but also just have people come through your door that have the opportunity to listen to the gospel and to ultimately
Mm-hmm.
the goal is for them to get saved and to get to know Christ as their
Yeah.
Savior. So one thing you mentioned was when we were talking earlier was like being that like digital front door.
Yeah, so we kind of instant coined this phrase, and I don't know if anybody ever said it before. I kind of came up with it, but we consider our digital, which is everything, right? Our website, YouTube, social media, our marketing. We call it our digital front door. And you think about this: when you walk up to somebody's house and you open up and they get ready to invite you in, the door opens and you can kind of see what's inside, and you're like, oh, this is a nice house. I like this. And so you want to be able to walk through that door and really take it all in. And so that's where everything works together. So think about it this way: if we're doing advertising through Google and somebody's like, they're new to Birmingham, like, man, we need to find a church, church near me. And that's all they type. Well, Christian Life Church pops up. We're like, oh, this is cool. Well, they're probably going to click the link and go to the website. If the website isn't user friendly, then they're probably going to stop and be like, all right, like, I can't find it. So when they go to our website, they can see it. We've got a banner at the top that kind of shows the life. We call ourselves a community church. So we are smack dab in the middle of Birmingham. We don't service one community. We have cities all around Birmingham that make up the city. And I mean, so like, for instance, our student ministry is representative of 18 different schools. So we're not just like one high school or middle school or elementary school. We service 18 different other schools. So we had to make sure it looked that way. We're not just an all white church where we have white, African American, Latino. We have people from other countries. I mean, when you walk in, it's a melting pot, man. It is not a traditionally like this, because they tell you Sunday is honestly one of the most segregated days of the week. I mean, think about, like, if you're into gospel, you're at a gospel service, and if you need Spanish speaking, and we have a Spanish speaking service, we have that, you're probably going to go there. So because it fits you and your culture. So it's the one thing that we really have working for us, and we call ourselves a community church because we don't service one nationality or one type of individual. We do that. So when you go to our website, you see that. You see all different types. And it's not just skin color, it's generational. I mean, we have young families, we have new families, we have elders that have been in the church for years, and then we've got all these different, so we're generational. So we're very cultured across the board. So that need to work. And then what we had to make sure is when people see that and they're like, I kind of want to see, what they're about. That's where the social media piece comes in, because our social media is not a billboard. We're not, it's not just like, we're not posting events all the time. Or, I mean, hey, we've got prayer service this Wednesday night. We're not trying to do that. We're creating fun reels. We've got a girl that does a really good job. She's our pastor's daughter. She's 18 years old. She's huge into social media. She's got her own following. She's got a pretty big following of her own. So she is in that. And what's great is, dude, like, I don't want to make these fun reels all the time. Like, I enjoy filming for clients and doing things, but it's not what I want to do all day, every day. I want to tell stories, and I want to be able to share our church's heart and bring people in. So she and I work in tandem really well because she loves doing that stuff. But then when somebody goes to our page, they're seeing fun stuff. They're seeing messages from our pastor. They're seeing recaps. They're seeing inspirational. So it all works
Yeah,
together.
that's so cool. Yeah, I think so too. Like with like Instagram and like that wave of like social media is like people also want to see like your personality and like who you really are. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're doing is great because you're not only showing them like the polished Sunday stuff, but you're showing them kind of like the behind the scenes and like kind of a more like laid back feel, and that gives people like just this view of you that it's like, okay, they're it's a great church, but they're also like they're fun to be around, and I think that like can speak
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Yeah, so one thing that we do here on the podcast is that we're building our ride over playlist. Now, we're not riding in the cars, so this is a little bit different, but what would be like one song that like you would like jam to like on your way to like a project?
Dude, Hovey by Perry Lane by Hovey is my daughter. They love that song. They love. We'll get in the car and they'll be like, "Dad, will you play Perry Lane or will you play Hovey like his Perry Lane song that he does?" When we get in the car with them, they love Josiah McQueen or Josiah Queen. They love his like demons and all that. Like that's their jam. Like they want to hear it. And then they're on this like techno kick right now, and I guess because it's summer, they heard it somewhere. I think my wife and I were watching a TikTok, and it popped up. It was this artist called Josh Feiwa, or I thought how it is, but it's the old prayer song, and dude, they love it. But it's true like EDM, like it's like electron, like bass is dropping and they're having it. But yeah, if we're in our car, man, and we're with our girls, we're looking at they're huge Holvey fans. They love like Forrest Frank, of course, like any modern American family right now that's a Christian family. It's like they love because it's clean. My ultimate playlist, it has to have it. It's my favorite artist. He was the first artist I ever photographed, and I have his photo like in my office at the church. Is Andy Mineo, hands down my favorite artist ever. I actually got to photograph him about 6 or 7 years ago at Winter Jam in Birmingham, and never had taken photos like I would. Dude, I'm telling you, man, I had like how that photo turned out because I had no idea what I was doing. I was running like JPEG, like I was just snapping photos in like auto mode, hoping they turn out. But yeah, Andy Mineo is my all time favorite. Has to be on every playlist. His new album right now, with Words Play, like it's been on repeat, man. I love this whole wrestling like theme that they're doing. But yeah, if it anything, it would be that old 116 crew. I know they're not really around anymore as much, but like Hovey, Andy Mineo, Words Play, Lecrae, dude, you name it.
Dude,
That's where
that's
I'm
so
at.
cool. Yeah, that's actually the second. You're the second one to say Holvey on the podcast. Other one was Brandon. We had him on episode. I think it was 4 or 5, and he's like, yeah, he's just Holvey. You know, that's the one who I'll listen to. So that's so cool.
They love it, dude. It's my kids, man. It's because we're also in that season of life right now with our daughters, trying to. I mean, yeah, we listen to like country. I mean, we're from Alabama. You know, we're into country and all that stuff. We listen to that, but we're in this place where we're trying to get them to understand like what they consume and what they take in. And I think about 3 or 4 years ago, I tried to really move away because I used to listen to like secular and stuff when I worked out because I was like, I need angry rap music and all this when I'm lifting. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to make a change and I'm gonna try to do it. So about 3 4 years ago, we moved to it, and it's good because now the girls are getting older. We're really trying to have them listen to music that kind of uplifts and has that message, and it's great because they love the rap music. They love Holvey, they love Forrest Frank, and they're not huge Andy Mineo fans yet. I'm working on it, but that Andy Mineo is my jam. Like he's my all-time favorite
Yeah,
artist
next
ever.
episode that I have you on, hopefully they're fans by then.
Hopefully so. The biggest thing we always tell our team is we're trying to create content that like invites, uplifts, um, creates discipleship, and is fun. That's like the four things we talk about, and we're creating those things. If anybody's listening is in marketing and creative media, we're trying to find ways to market to people what church is and why it's important to make it a part, because we really are culturally, man. I feel like we're at a point where I can tell you, as in a season of life where we are as a 41-year-old dad of two, we're in a season of life, dude, where man, these schools and and like sports, man, it's like they take over everything. It's like they, it's there's always something happening that they have to be at, or we need to be at as parents with them. And we talk about all that. And I think culturally, church in America is trying to figure out where their church fits into their weekly schedule. And I don't think it's as much. I don't think it's as much people are purposely not trying to have church part of their schedule. I think the lives that their kids are living, or the things that they actually have to be a part of. Like some of these things we do with the girls at school is it's mandatory, and it's like, man, they've got so much stuff they've got to do. So how do we take an already busy schedule and get people to make school or make church a part of their weekly schedule? And we talk about that a lot at the church. We talk about a lot that we have to remember our church members have to get there on Wednesday, right? Like we need to be mindful about the times that we have, the amount of times a week we need them there, because we may already be there as our job. We got to find a way. So that's just something I always have this encouraging of people is figure out the culture of your church. How do you get people in the doors? What do you need to do where that's not going to add pressure to people where they're like, you know what, church is not something we need to do. Like we don't have to, because in the end, I mean, having people in the seats allows us to do more ministry, right? It's kind of like a service. I mean, if people are there and they're giving and they're tithing, and they say what 30% of the congregation tithes for 100%. So you've got to have more people there, and the more people that are there taking that in, not just are you changing their lives, it's giving us the ability to do more ministry. Because if we have tithe, we can do more events, and we can give back more, and we can do more mission trips, and we can hire more staff that can do more things. So there's a lot of that. That's why we had to take that step back, man, and say, all right, church has to be looked at as a business. If we want people here, we've got to find a way to get them here and keep them here, because we have big dreams, right? Like we have things that we want to do. We want to see the church do. We want to serve people. Dude, the only way you can do that is by having people give and believing in the mission and the vision and the value of your church.
And I think that applies to like whether you're listening and you know are a creative director at your church, or whether you have your business or something. It's like I think being present on social media, and then really just taking a step back and seeing like what you said, like viewing it as a church, as a business, and like because it's I think if you view I think maybe like back in the day, like if you viewed it just as a church, that was fine. But like nowadays, it's like you have to view it
Yeah.
as a business, because like, and it just just to tie in what you all said, it's just like bringing in more people ultimately has the kind of this domino effect. You're able to,
Yeah.
do more, have more ministries, and like, ultimately do more for like
Yeah.
the kingdom of God, which is really the ultimate goal in the end.
Yeah. When you have to think about too, like for us in the Bible Belt, man, like so we're on a road called Valleydale, and so it's got a lot. It's got two really big churches on it. It's got you've got Valleydale Baptist, which is a huge old school church. Like they're generational. Like people's kids of kids of kids go there, and then we have another one called Rock City, which is a gospel church, and their pastor is a big gospel singer, and they have a phenomenal church. It's huge, but that's just there's three of them. There's three big churches right there, but on a strip of like 6 or 7 miles, like from where Valleydale goes from the main interstate to the other main highway, dude, there's like 7 churches. 7, like probably actually, I'm thinking through. There's probably like 8. But I mean, there's a church on every corner, and we don't want to compete with other churches. That's not what the point is. It's the church. It's not your church. But you want to find a church that fits you and your family and what you enjoy and your people, really. Like that's one of the things we love about where we're at with CLC is like we love doing community with these people. But how do we show people on like a 5-mile road that there's 8 other opportunities for people to go to church, that Christian Life Church is where they should be? That's what we're trying to do weekly and daily.
Yeah, that's one thing too. I remember seeing like I think you posted about this on your social media, was about like SERVPRO, touching a little bit on that, and like how your work was kind of on like at a national level, like.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. It's about relationships, man. Like I think you and I kind of touched on this a little bit when we were kind of just throwing ideas out for what we want to talk about. Dude, relationships are so important. Even like this, like we may not live around each other, we may not do it, but this gives us the opportunity to create content that, if you make any reels from this or you do anything, that we can collaborate. So like my audience sees your audience and your audience sees mine. And I think relationships are important. And that's where I got to with SERVPRO. It was making meaningful relationships and serving other people. And it's not always about the money. And I think that's something that I have been trying to teach my team at the church that also do video and photography on the side, is, dude, sometimes it's just about serving somebody. Like if I have the opportunity, like, yeah, it'd be great. I could probably go out, charge $350 for a family photo session. But if there's somebody at the church that needs, like I've had a couple people at the church that I've done photos for that I know that's a huge investment for them to do something like that. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me take care of you. I'll do it. And so, but that's how it got to where I got to at SERVPRO is I had the opportunity, got that job. I started working on things, and then somehow, because of the relationships I had created, I got to go. So what was cool is during the COVID year, they do convention every year. It's huge. Every SERVPRO in the nation goes. Like it's a massive event. And so the year they did COVID, they had to cancel it. So they did it in house at corporate, which is based in Gallatin, Tennessee, right there. And so I got to go. They needed help, and luckily my SERVPRO owner had a good relationship with people there. He was like, "Hey, we've got our guy. He can come help you." So they literally covered my fee to come for the week. I went to corporate during COVID, and I got to help them do convention because they did it live from headquarters because there was nowhere to go, and did it live from headquarters. But dude, I created all these relationships with some of the people at corporate and started following them on LinkedIn and social media and stayed in connection, and just needing, when they needed things and I took photos in the field, I would get calls from their media team at corporate like, "Hey, do you have any videos that you've taken that we can have?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I would just give it to them. Like, I'm not going to charge them for it. I'm not, even us as a SERVPRO team, we didn't charge them. Like, "Hey, here, we're part of this." And we gave it to them. And I never knew doing some of those things and building those relationships would lead to that. It was just really cool yesterday when, so that was our SERVPRO owner's wife. She texted me and she was like, "Hey, your photos are being used at convention." And so she sent me the photo, and I posted about it. It was just kind of a humbling thing to see. I didn't want to share it to be like, "Hey, look at me." I was more excited because those photos were of our team, and it was cool to tell their stories because these people are helping others on their worst day. Like most people will experience a big water damage maybe once in their life, right? Like something happens, you got to tear things down. Unfortunately, at our house, we've experienced it like 7 times, so it's been fun. So it's good I work for a company that can handle it. But like when you have a fire, or like, I'll tell you this, man, working in restoration and getting to capture these images, it's a humbling experience when you walk into somebody's home that's caught on fire and you realize, like, you walk in there, dude, like their life is covered in like soot damage and ash, and it's like their memories, their photos, like everything it's been burned down, and we got to capture our team doing that. And then I've also got to be sensitive enough to walk in and be like, "Hey, would you be okay if I came and captured our team?" Because you don't ever want them to think we're trying to capitalize off of their tragedy. But it was just cool, man. It led to that, and it was just a really humbling picture. I haven't got to go to conventions since I'm not full time anymore, so it kind of stinks. I've gotten to go in the past, and it's awesome. But it was just cool for her to send me that, and like see our team in Birmingham, Alabama, in front of every franchise in the nation, and there's like 3,000. I mean, you're talking. There's like 5 or 6,000 people in this room, and you're talking some of the biggest executives of a multi-billion-dollar industry. I mean, like SERVPRO alone is worth like I think 2.9 billion, and you've got these people in there, and it's just cool. They're talking about stories, and then here comes our people, like right on screen, and it's like photos that I took. So, dude, it was cool. It was a humbling experience. It was really cool to be a part of that. Honestly, man, I love commercial photography, and I love capturing our team helping people. It's a different type of media, I guess. Most people don't get to experience or see that.
Yeah, that's interesting too about how like you guys, like a fire is like not like, I mean it's devastating, and I think that like what you talked about, like it's these people's like memories, just kind of like all just in ashes. It's crazy, and but I think so too, and I think that's just offers like for like creatively like to be able to tell like a good story.
Yeah, and that's what we've done. We created our SERVPRO owner. He had a dream, and we did it. And dude, we've been running with it, and it's been successful. We created a podcast called the Higher Up Podcast, and it's all about like higher living. But like both of our owners are big believers. They have their number one core value is honor God, And that's one of the things that they do. And what was really cool is because of that, to allow me more creative freedom, we actually, through this podcast, we film it. We have a studio at the SERVPRO office. Every Wednesday morning we record. This week, of course, they're in San Diego for convention, so they're gone. So we'll get back to recording next week. But we release an episode every other Monday, and it's very like business oriented, like Christian faith based. But what's cool is what we started doing this past year, and we hadn't in the past. We always kept them separate. You know, it was like Hire Up Podcast, SERVPRO. They technically were the same thing. So what we did this year is, dude, we started every time we post for the Hire Up, we collabed with SERVPRO, like our SERVPRO Team Wilson page, which is our main social media page. We started collaborating with it because we're like, you know what? We want customers to see like who our owners are. Like, we want them to understand, because, dude, restoration and mitigation is not cheap. It's very expensive. It's a lot. It's materials, it's time. You're coming in, you're drying. There's a lot of insurance. I mean, it sucks. Like it kind of, it'll hurt your insurance if you have a big loss. And so we want people to see that our ownership, they're not just coming in and, you know, this is who they are. Like, this is the team that you are allowing in your home to do your emergency damage. And so we were able to create that and kind of combine the two worlds to give people an insight of ownership, because everybody always wants to know like how our owners grew, how they got to be one of the top 10 teams. And it was just kind of cool to take something, but then also in turn with that, they get to glorify God through it and show like who they are as believers and business owners through the Hire Up podcast, but we get to connect it. So it goes back to like the whole thing we've talked about, man, is relationships, treating things like a business. These are all important, whether anybody listening is a church creative, if they're an entrepreneur, if they work for a large company. These are all things that I think are very important to think about.
Yeah, that's good. So tell the listeners a little bit about what's next for you, and also where they can find you.
Yeah, man. What's next? Summer is nice. So what's cool about working for a church I've really enjoyed is I've technically been off since the 19th. We had family vacation last week, and then this week the church is always closed. When we're recording this, the week of the 4th, where the church closes down because. So, dude, it's been kind of nice. But July is nice. June and July, we kind of like slow down. Like right now, our students are on summer camp, so they're gone. They come back tomorrow. The only other big event we have left this summer is Kids Week, which is like our VBS or our big kids event. We do that typically toward the end of July. And then, dude, we've got 2 big events in the fall. We've got what we call the weekend, which is our big student retreat where they go away for a weekend. And then we have another event called Smash. And it's a huge evangelical event that our students put on, and they invite other churches to come. And they bring a car in, and kids get to smash it with a sledgehammer. So that's always fun to film. So that's our next big things, man, that we got coming up that we're filming. And dude, Christmas is around the corner. And as a church creative, it's like we got to get started now. So. But yeah, those are our next big events. But yeah, man. So anybody, if they want to check, I'm kind of in this weird place right now where I'm trying to figure out like what my brand is. I told somebody that I feel like I'm in a season where I love, and this is my feed, like my algorithm right now is nothing but like dad content. It's like dads hanging out with their kids. Like I 100% believe based on my feed that every person I've like all this dad content, these guys are getting up at 4 a.m. They're working out. They're hanging out with their kids. They're just enjoying life. So that's what I'm trying to figure out right now is like where I'm trying to shift like what I love dad content. I don't know if it's just a new era, but I love looking at stuff what people are doing with their kids because it's where I'm at. But my Instagram handle is just Adam Gray West. It's Gray with an E. And then I have Adam West Media as well. But dude, I have a hodgepodge of things. Like last night I posted an unboxing, and then the other day I posted a video with my kids. So it's like I try to tell people my social media, if I gain a following and I can influence, I'm here for it. But, dude, my personal social media sometimes is really just stuff that I like, and hopefully other people enjoy it as well, and they'll come along for the journey.
Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. Really a pleasure chatting with you, and a lot of good stuff, and a lot of helpful tips. Like whether whether you're a church creative, whether you're an entrepreneur or business owner, like I think there's a lot of good stuff in this episode that you can kind of take note of and be able to implement in what you do. So thanks so much for listening, and until
Yeah, dude.
the ride over, hope you take care, and it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and
It's going to happen, dude.
yeah.
I
So
promise.
thanks so much for coming on board.
I appreciate you having me, man. This is a blast. I always love sitting and getting to talk with people about everything that, we're doing the same thing and just like-minded individuals. Surround yourself with people who make you better and like-minded
That's right.
individuals.
That's
man.
right. Well, thanks for listening, and that's the ride over.